I'm not gonna lie, Planisphere is pretty sweet. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another video. And today, Gwegs has given me a pretty sweet deck list. So the sort of interesting thing here is the Planisphere. So this is one of the job select cards, meaning that this is an equipment that comes with a buddy, just like something like a Batterskull might, but it's a 1/1 colorless hero token. So the equipped creature is a wizard and has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell and whenever you draw your third card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So you get kind of super prowess, and you get what I'm going to call brainstorm prowess. Because it is very, very clearly meant to go with cards that are drawing you at least 2 cards at a time. Because 1 from your turn plus 2 from some other source means that you trigger this ability. So we are playing this in a Delver style deck. It is a Delver deck that goes a little big to deny some bonus mana here, but it is nevertheless a Delver deck. Now, recently, a similar deck as to this 5-0'd. This has been in the queue for a while, but a similar version that instead of playing the aggressive Delver was playing Tamiyo 5-0'd. But rather than being a tempo deck, it was a full-on control deck, opting for an entire playset of this card. I don't think this card is particularly good in the deck. The original deck list that they sent me had 2 of them, I think. I have trimmed down to 1. I'm going to keep it to try it out. The deck list that 5-0'd did not include Wasteland, I believe, and so every mana source in the deck was contributing to casting this. But I think when that is not the case, this is not particularly strong. So this league is largely testing how good is this job select card, how good is the Planisphere. I had been largely asked not to touch the sideboard of this deck. I promoted some dismembers from the sideboard into the main deck. I have temporary answers to things, but I don't have any permanent answers to things, and I felt like that was important. And this can technically steal a creature, but it doesn't steal a lot of stuff. I also think I am tapping out a lot in playing this deck, right? Like, I have this that I want to tap out for, I have these that I want to tap out for, I have this that I want to tap out for. This is not like a draw-go control deck, and a lot of times I'm going to want to play spells on my own turn to force damage with my creature here. So, I don't know how much sense this makes. And some things in this deck are probably too cute for current Legacy. Jace is admittedly really good with this, and would be really good with Tamiyo if we were playing that as well. With that, I think I'm just going to hop directly into the league here, folks. If you need any cards, consider getting them from my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Rules: I like the people that are there, I like their customer service, I like their free shipping, and I like that promo code ThrabenU saves 5% on your order. Whether you need standard cards or sweet old cards, TOAMagic.com has them both. With that being said, let's battle. I don't feel like this takes advantages of all the strengths of our deck here. We have no cantrips for Murktide Regent. I could like let something resolve, bounce it out of play, counter it on the way back down. I don't really know that I'm accruing any great advantages while I do that versus just mulliganing to something that has a Delver or a Planisphere. This I'm going to keep. I'm going to need another land. I think I'm pretty far away from making Murktide work. Actually, I'm going to think about this for a second longer. It's possible I pitch the Dismember, and I just intend to use Murktide Regent as my Force of Will target. I like that better. Edges slightly better against my opponent playing something dumb like Oops. I'm fine letting that resolve. I think I'm fine letting that resolve. It does give my opponent Metalcraft. And we are playing Delver Pass. Red Elemental Blasts, which my opponent is going to be playing probably greater than 4 of in the main deck, are very good versus my mono blue deck. However, I am highly reactive. City of Traders. That card's very good. That card's not a painter, but that card's very good. I think I'm just going to try to keep the board clear for a little while, not let my opponent loot towards a painter, and, well, they insist. So, That is not an instant or sorcery, unfortunately, for Delver. So not only have I missed out on my land drop, I have also missed out on flipping Delver. I am now very far behind. Oh geez, opponent doesn't even want to loot, their hand's just good. Well, shit. Cat is losing its mind over a toy in the living room. That resolves. Painter plus Grindstone. Yeah, with another land, I have Brazen Borrower to bounce the Painter in response and punt this off for a little while. Not having the Dismember is relevant. I like my Null Rods here. I like my Blue Elemental Blasts here. Back to Basics is weird. Very good versus Urza Saga, obviously. And like the Ancient Dens and Soul Lands. I don't like this. The harder I have to work for something, the less I like it here. I maybe don't Force of Will, and I try to play more cards that look like this. The 2-for-1 off Force of Will when my opponent just has a bunch of red blasts are rough. Trying to play something like Jace or expensive cards like the Charm versus red blast are similarly not great. Last thing I'm thinking about is whether or not I want a couple of dress downs for Urza Saga tokens. If I do that, I probably get rid of Back to Basics. I think I'm going to do a play draw thing. I think on the play where I've already lost a game, I'm going to try Back to Basics, and then on the draw where I am slower, I'm going to play dress down. This is fine, although admittedly, like, Wasteland negative synergy with Back to Basics, right? And I think I'm just going to ponder and look for a basic island here. Like, this is really the plan with this game. Am I fine just having 3 bounces and keeping all of this? That has to be all of it. I'm not really sure that I am. That's great. That's a very good pickup. Battle's fine. Opponent just passes the turn. Oh, we drew one anyway. That is a great use of my mana. Job select. Arena of Glory. That's another land that I can keep tapped. I'm probably just bouncing that out of play. Everything is black rather than blue. I'm going to Petty Theft. Target Painter's Servant. Trigger this little fella. Oh my gosh, look at that cute little token. I love it. Alright, cool. Resolves. Bash in for 2. I can feel it. Ooh. With double Brazen Borrower, that's fine. And still has 5 cards in hand too. Oh, we've got the interaction. Do I want to bounce this right now for an extra token on this creature? I don't think so. I also don't think I am wastelanding with Back to Basics right around the corner here. Sort of a shame I don't have double Blue Elemental Blast up. Haste. 5? Fury? I will absolutely attempt to counter that. Oh, nice, I succeed. That is big game. Basic Island, please. Ponder is not Basic Island. Ponder probably finds Basic Island. Not this time. Miss on the Ponder. Send it. Opponent's at 12. This is staying tapped. I think this is the point where I need to wasteland this to keep my Daze relevant. And then I assume that I bounce this out of play at some point. So I am just going to Daze that to keep my creature alive. Like, this gets 2 cards from my opponent already. Yeah, opponent doesn't even pay for it. Seems good. I'm just going to hold up Blue Elemental Blast. Counter something like a Fable that comes in. There's land drop. I don't get to counter that. That's not red. Everything is blue now. I think I need to hold up interaction here, so I'm going to go ahead and pass the turn. And then if I don't need to interact with Painter's Servant, I do Ensnaring Bridge Crimes. Oh, it's big. That is a Chaos Defiler. That is a red card. I will counter that. Ooh, it's a Pyroblast. So that resolves. I lose my token. I'm going to keep the Planisphere. Dies? Dies. That's actually very hard to cast. And it's not attacking right now because of Ensnaring Bridge. I'm willing to die to Grindstone being the top card of my opponent's library. I can just try to set up this turn. I really need new land drops. Let's try to find them. If I get to the point where I have like 4 mana, I can do so much. Yes, I like this a lot. I think I draw the Dismember now. And pass the turn. I'm going to take one from the painter so that I have a chance to dismember something that is worse. I am going to go ahead and dismember this now. These aren't tapped yet, so I don't need to play back to basics until they are tapped. I'm going to go ahead and throw this down. This is 2 to equip. I'll pass the turn here. I'll brainstorm in response because that's something I'm going to do this turn anyway to use my mana. I'll bury a back to basics, put one Murktide on top, and then that's going to resolve. Now I decide if I want to start going for my opponent's mana or whether or not I want to just bounce stuff out of play. I'm not getting to 4 mana for a while. Grindstone plus activate in the same turn is very scary. Let's take that off the table. I trade my Wasteland for City of Traders plus some added utility. And I think the plan is end up playing 2 Murktide Regents and then bouncing Ensnaring Bridge. Grindstone plus activate, immediately back up on the table. Now I just have to decide like how willing I am to die to top decked Grindstone. I think I'm going to throw down. Because now I can hold up Brazen Borrower after this. I'll need 1 mana to get the kill in one go. Or alternatively, the ability to cast Spell Pierce. That can resolve. Petty Theft, Ensnaring Bridge out of play. Pyroblast is the remaining card. Sure. I will just repeat this. Bounce. Murktide singularly kills. Yeah, that resolves. That's my opponent's last card. So I've realized something. So I have 3 instants in graveyard. This only counts as an instant when it is on the stack. So if I Brazen Borrower, bounce Ensnaring Bridge here, I have 11, and I don't actually want to attack with that. So this is actually slightly more awkward than I thought. I need to just cast 1 instant or sorcery spell and have it hit the bin, and then I'm good. This is awkward. I need to respect Grindstone or I just die sometimes. Do not like the feel of back to basics here. Gross. That puts me on a finite clock. That is very unfortunate. So what do I need to do now? I can't equip this, right? How am I getting that last point of damage? Blind flipping a Delver? Or do I just have to play this out sorcery speed and then bounce on my next turn? That might be what has to happen. That's enough to get me there. But I'm dead to Grindstone this turn. Saga ticks up. Aced. Cool. That dodges Spell Pierce and Brazen Borrower though, right? The red sacrifice, the Chaos Defiler. Yep, alright. That'll do. Maybe I can play out another Murktide Regent in an earlier turn and stop trying to play around dying and just take the chance earlier in the game and win that one. GG though, that was pretty interesting. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Alright, I'm going to keep this opening hand here. This is fine. It doesn't have one of the early aggressive creatures that I might like. I have Force of Will for an emergency. I have Brazen Borrower to bounce something out of play. You're probably playing against a Show and Tell deck, if I were to guess here. And my opponent likes both of their cards. That is horrifying. I think we ponder very aggressively for Daze and Force of Will. Yeah, I will take Daze plus an island. Opponent says hello to YouTube. No, I was wrong. I always want to fetch here because I know my next card is just another island, which I very clearly don't want. Oh, okay, we are just a different combo deck. My opponent is going and getting a Nadu there. God damn it. Oh, I'm always fetching. I have 3 dismembers I can find that answer Nadu. I'm going to Petty Theft this now. Give my opponent a card. Oh, choice. The other side of the combo. I clicked too quickly there. I meant today's. So hopefully I stop the other side of the combo here. And I end up with a beefy sized thing that can attack through Nadu. Daze isn't doing me any favors here. I'm going to Force of Will, pitching that. And hopefully there's not just another one. Prismatic Ending on the token is fine. I can just equip to Murktide Regent. But I'm very dead to my opponent having the combo. This only slows it down. I'm going to try to win this game, and I'm just going to tap out. If I die, I die. There is a medium-sized Murktide Regent with an equipment on it. Land drop 4. No immediate combo. Very nice. Gonna send in for 5. I don't think I'm going to Brazen Borrower immediately, because it could draw my opponent into a Swords to Plowshares type piece of interaction. Fetching or a Surveil land. And keeping the card. Hate that for me. That's fine. Fetch land to clear it. Ponder's fine. And a shuffle on that one. Opponent does not attack. I think I am willing to Brazen Borrower this now, because I can both cast this and then play the threat afterwards. There's an Illusionist coming. That's a Force of Will. Pitching the Illusionist. I'm not sure that casting the second Petty Theft does anything, because my opponent can just redeploy Nadu plus play the thing afterwards. I'm going to let that resolve there. Island is not what I am going for. Send it. Opponent is at 5. This is lethal. I'm going to play this island so that I can play Brazen Borrower plus Petty Theft around Daze. Cantrips are fine. I have no interaction versus them anyway. Fetch land to clear the Brainstorm. That's the Nomads. If I bounce Nadu out of play, my opponent just recasts it. And will draw one more card. I think the way that I can win here is let my opponent target Nadu, do the whole thing. I'm just going to yield until here. Like, let my opponent do their thing, hope they don't find a removal spell or another flyer, and then bounce Nadu at end of turn and swing in for lethal. Got another Nomad after a handful of clicks. Force of Will, unfortunately, shows up. So now my Brazen Borrower probably doesn't get to resolve. Oh, and I just die. Okay, cool. GG. I have a bunch of mid cards that I could bring in. Like, Dress Down can shut off activated abilities for a turn, but then my opponent can just combo off on my turn if it's Nomads in core anyway. Nullrod stops Shuko, but doesn't stop Nomads. Kind of interested in Dress Down. It can also help with Urza Saga tokens. Back to Basics is very helpful versus Cavern Souls. I might go down something like... No, this is pretty expendable. One's got Cavern anyway. I can just go down a couple of counter spells, play a couple of things that interact versus the creatures fairly. That is no land. This is fine. I'm going to keep this and probably get rid of Brainstorm. I would primarily like to find a threat with this Ponder. Yes. Am I in for all 3 of these cards? I think yes. I could do it in the other order to have the option to get rid of the other Dismember, but I think I always want it. So bam, and bam. We have selected our job. Flooded Strand. Daze doesn't counter that. Now I need to find another threat again. I can make it better once I do. Let's look for one. Not right now. Yuck. So I've got decent interaction versus creatures, but this stuff will fade. Yuko resolves. And I shuffled off my Ponder, so I don't need to crack my Flooded Strand. Hey, there we go. That is a threat. I'm going to hold up my interaction here rather than equip. Fetching. And Brainstorm is fine. My Dismembers are pretty bad now, with the Shuko sitting in play. Opponent fetches. That's wastelandable. That bait? That bait, and am I about to get got by a Cavern of Souls? I don't know that I get to not wasteland that. It's Misty. That's Nadu. Hopefully that counters Nadu. Do I want to Daze again? Or do I want to give my opponent 2 cards with Shuko and then Dismember? I think I want to fully keep that out of play. Just feels bad. Alright, stack clears. Delver trigger. Will not reveal that. I'm not super well equipped to continue fighting here. Illusionist is now worse than Nadu. Actually, that's not true, right? Because this is Shuko, not Nomads. I can dismember this one. You can't stack up all of the things at the same time, like you can with Nomads to invalidate the removal spell. Opponent did randomly mill a Narcomoeba there, though. They have a blocker. Delver trigger. I will flip to Brainstorm. I'm going to try to dodge for one turn. Because if I dodge for one turn, I don't care about this Narcomoeba anymore. Land drop 4. Did not dodge. Opponent would have gotten a bunch of cards anyway. Now we'll see how bad this is. That's Cephalid Illusionist. So I will die if my opponent hits another land in their next 2 activations. Last one. Nomad gives them 2 more rolls. Plus, they can now activate on my turn. This game is not really worth playing from here. I guess I can see if the Dismember resolves, but assuming this Dismember does not resolve, I think this game is over. I'm just going to yield to these. Whatever happens, happens. The opponent has activated a bunch of times, now has access to Flusterstorm. I imagine always successfully counters this Dismember. Oh, they also have Force of Will. Sure. And at the point where that's not resolving, I think I can concede. Like, I can hit my opponent for a lot this turn, and then they will just Swords my Idiot, and I am dead. GG's. All right. Opening hand is fine. This tension between Back to Basics and Wasteland in this deck is very real. That's fine. I'll probably end up bouncing that out of play as a tempo play. An opponent is a Yorian version of the deck, by the way. Delver. I am fully expecting to lose this match in impressive fashion. And I will be happy if I'm wrong. Yeah, this is why. So, to this Delver trigger, to this Bowmaster trigger, I lose Delver. I will not reveal Wasteland. Now I am just kind of woefully behind. I'm going to take this Vial out of play before it ticks up further and allows my opponent to actually get ahead. Back to Basics is a dead card. I just can't play that with double Wasteland here. And I'm going to take a decent amount of damage between combat and Bowmat. Alright, well, my opponent gave me 2 free life. I appreciate that. I need it. I need every little bit of it right now. I'm gonna do this so that I can Brainstorm in response to Bowmasters. Pass priority. Oh, it's Felia instead. Sure. I'm just not gonna let that become a thing, and we'll do it now to play around Ephemerate type effects. Marsh Flats. Yeah. That gets to get Bowmasters back. Seems good. Opponent has missed 3 points of combat damage so far. Not that it matters. But I'm getting my ass kicked nevertheless. I don't get to Force of Will Bowmasters. I also don't get to shuffle any of this away. I also don't get to play Murktide Regent because this is a Wasteland. I also don't get to play Delver because of Bowmasters. Ah! Alright, bam. 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 Pass. We'll Force of Will pitching Back to Basics if my opponent casts something. And then hopefully play Murktide Regent. Ooh. Yeah, it feels real bad to be on this side of the matchup. One's got the Surveil land. Keeps the card. Do I want to Wasteland my opponent? Sure. It's not blue towards my cards anyway. File goes up to 2. Basic planes. Free War Farmalware. No. I will Force of Will that. You do not get Felia. That's bigger with Vigilance. That turns on Overlord. This game fucking won. Sure. Opponent has figured out how to attack with Orc Army token. Oh, my opponent exiled Delver rather than an instant or sorcery. That's sweet for me. That means my Murktide region is 1 bigger. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. File to 3. 1 card remaining in hand. It's a Swords. I'll take a bunch of damage. Overlord ticks down. I don't have a big enough graveyard for this. I can technically play a Delver of Secrets. It's just not good. If I get another land, I can work towards this. Next turn, my opponent just gets Yori and blanks both of these, and I'm dead. Oh shit. Trade all day. Trade all day. I'm not the beatdown. Overlord to 1. Force of Will. I'm going to concede to the Yorian that is coming. Like, I'm going to be under Bowmaster again. Or Felia Blink nonsense. I will play Dress Down. I can sometimes finagle a spot where it's reasonable. I'm going to board back to basics out. And probably Spell Pierce out. Spell Pierce just misses too much. I don't really want to Null Rod. It does stuff versus Aether Vial, but I very much would like to equip these. Null Rod is really for the unfair matchups. I can keep one Spell Pierce or play a very awkward Jace the Mind Sculptor, which I don't think I can cast in the average game. I'm going to keep this one. My opponent is on 6. I have Dismember for an early creature. Hopefully I can just like play this out and then draw a bunch of cards and hit really hard with it. That would be nice. That is not always going to happen. We will go to 19 and play our threat. And then pass. If we get swordsed, we get swordsed. We do. Unfortunate. This is an equipment. Hopefully I can re-equip it later in the game. Caracas and pass. We have to keep in mind that Felia is a thing that can happen here. I think I'm just going to assume that I am dismembering a Felia. I'm going to go ahead and wasteland Caracas. And we can do the whole change phase dance. Yes. I can ponder. I already know what sort of things I'm looking for. A new Planisphere? Yeah, I'm into that. I'm gonna put Force of Will into my hand, though, in case things get weird. And we'll just dismember this now. And then we can have a creature with 2 different instances of the Planisphere ability, which sounds pretty good to me. This card's really awkward here. Like, I can hold this up to attempt to counterspell something in this turn cycle, but if my opponent doesn't cast a spell, then I'm kind of committed to doing this again, and then, like, how do I fit this equip into that? So I think if my opponent plays something scary enough, I just Force of Will. Ooh. Opponent has done that. Is that Felia around Daze? Perhaps? I think I am willing to straight up Force of Will that, given how much value I am about to get here by equipping this. Send in. No blocks. Cast Brainstorm. Triggers. Bowmaster is not available. That is Solitude. Pitching Solitude. I think I force. This is so much damage, and I can still Brainstorm for Felia. Like for a Dismember for Felia. So there's Brainstorm. 2 of these are going back. I will have access to both next turn. Probably both of these. Yeah, and yeah. So now opponent can blink this token out of existence, which is not great. Oh wow, I'm at 12. I guess Dismember happened. I'm gonna go ahead and just fetch. Play Planisphere. Pass turn, and then when my opponent goes to combat, I will Dress Down and temporarily remove Felia's abilities. Then I get something that can... Ooh, I fetched the Borrower away, which is how I was intending on dealing with Felia. Oops. That ends up not being great then, huh? Yeah, the plan was equip, attack in, hit for 2, bounce out of play, put 2 more counters on it, and then hopefully swing for lethal the following turn. Maybe I needed to shuffle off the Brainstorm. 8, I'll pass turn there. My creatures being tokens that get obliterated by Felia is not fantastic here. I'm at 9. Opponent is playing a tapped land and passing. I've drawn another land. No bueno. So the bad part here is that since my opponent isn't proactively playing spells, there's a good chance that they have reactive cards in hand that will hit a Murktide Regent or whatever. The opponent just gets a castable creature here. Sorry, a castable equipment here. Now they can Stoneforge Blink afterwards and get something more threatening. guess I needed to let my creature die to Solitude and then counter the Felia. Felia rips counters off Murktide Regent. Alright, I'm gonna tap out here. Phantom Blade also just does work. Nightmare matchup. GG's. Alright, my opponent has mulliganed to 3. I'm gonna play my Delver, and... No, I'm gonna fucking hold up Spell Pierce. I don't want to just fucking die to Oops All Spells on turn 1 if I don't do this. Alright, cool. So my opponent gets Time Walk because they are playing Oops All Spells. Now I can probably play Delver, now that I have Daze. Get this fucking shit out of my format. Like, I am not allowed to play a 1-drop, because I might die if I do. How much does that suck? Resolves. Force of Will is a miss. I will not reveal Polluted Delta. I will go to Punchies. I will Punchies. 16. I'm willing to cast one of these. Let's set a stop here. Delver, Dismember, Daze, no Shuffle. I don't actually want the Dismember, that's on top of my deck. Land Drop, Informer. I will Daze that. I'm going to go ahead and flip Delver to Dismember and then fetch away that land that I don't want. I will Ponder, looking for a hard counter like Force of Will. Did not find it. I'll go to combat. I will send in for 3. So just like, by the way, my opponent mulliganed to, what, 3? And has presented back-to-back wins after doing that. Just throwing it out there. Cool. So that's in play. Now I need to hit a Dismember or Brazen Borrower or I die. Spell Pierce does not interact with that. Alright, I hit. Now I'm dead if my opponent draws a Mana Source. Cool, 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 cool. 7. Ooh, they didn't draw a Mana Source. I live to see another day. Send in for 3. Opponent is at 4. Ponder. If my opponent draws the Mana Source, those cards don't actually matter. I die on the spot. I guess I can Spell Pierce the land. Sorry, if my opponent plays a land, they go to 1. I can Spell Pierce Lotus Petal. Do I just have to keep one of these cards? Maybe I just have to keep one of these cards. Keep the Dismember. Fucking hate these play patterns. I Spell Pierce that. So that resolves. I Dismember that. Alright, cool. Get my opponent down to 1. We win. Wasn't that fun? Yeah. So my opponent mulliganed to 3. And I think presented, what was that, a turn 2, a turn 3, and a turn 7 win attempt. That could have been a turn 6 win attempt if they didn't want to play around Dismember. Fine and good. Force of Negation is fine. Fairy Macabre is not particularly good in this matchup. Doesn't do what you need it to do against the Memory's Journey type cards. Grafdigger's Cage is fine. Null Rod helps with some of the jukes. It's a very inefficient counterspell. The stuff that I'm bringing in is better than Back to Basics. I don't know how much Brazen Borrower actually does on average. I don't know. Maybe tapping out for this is just a no-go. Anytime I have the Spell Pierces available, I just need to have them up. I guess I only have 2 of those. This is the sort of thing where if I play it, I don't need to cast another threat for the rest of the game in all likelihood. And like, sometimes my opponent does not have the mana to activate things, and I can bounce them back to hand, but that's not a permanent issue, solution to the problem. I'm gonna try like this. Hey, isn't this a fantastic hand that has 2 different hate cards that I can't keep because if I keep this, I just die? Isn't that great? Isn't that a healthy play pattern? This one I can keep. I'm gonna pitch land 3. Alright, opponent just passes the turn. That means that I get to play a threat. That was a lucky draw. I'm perfectly happy with that. Opponent is just playing Drago with me here. I'm not gonna Brainstorm. Will not reveal Island. I will send in for 1. Opponent goes to 19. I'll drop Null Rod. Unmask, target me. Well, that gets my Force of Will. Oh hey, look at the sort of easy 1-card pivots my opponent has that dodge expected hate, like Grafdigger's Cage on Null Rod. 16. You've seen the Daze. I need to use it, because otherwise I lose to your pivot. Yeah, isn't this fucking fantastic? Still have Dismembers. I'm going to get a card deeper before I Brainstorm. There's Island. I will Brainstorm. I did find Dismember. Nullrod goes back. Island goes back. I fetch. And now I get another damned if you do, damned if you don't decision, where this is already a 3/4, and if I wait, it might be bigger. So I need to Dismember this now. If I Dismember this now, I can die to the graveyard-based combo, assuming my opponent can do it without using artifact mana. Ah, there's another pivot. Fantastic. Will not reveal Murktide Regent. I lose 2 life. I will play Murktide Regent. Force, Daze, Brainstorm, Dismember, +1. I will play Grafdigger's Cage. Opponent gains 2. There's Shouldered attacking in. I think I need to block it. I look forward to my opponent just fucking reanimating this. What do you want me to fucking say? What do you want me to fucking say here? Opponent discards a card. I need to take 7 here so that I can draw, Dismember, and block, and Dismember that. Spellpierce, I will reveal that. I will flip Delver. I will fetch. I will grab Island. I've drawn Planisphere. I'm going to chump block with the token and then be able to equip Delver. Send it. I am dead to whatever the backside of this shit is called. Fail to Profane. Chump block. Lotus Petal's fine. Opponent is just playing that out. There's a Daze. Oh, I can't equip this because of my own Null Rod. Alright. So now I have to chump block, and then I think I'm on no outs to Routing Register. Yeah, hey, there's the thing that I talked about last turn. Wasn't this enjoyable? Where I played like multiple dedicated hate cards and had multiple counterspells and pieces of other interaction and still handily lost. Isn't this a play pattern that is worth preserving in Legacy? Absolutely fucking not. Get this shit out of my format. Should have done it 2 ban waves ago. That was the best time to do it. Second best time is now. Emergency BNR. Fix your mistake. So here's the thing. I can't board out of this graveyard hate because my opponent still probably has the ability to combo off with it. So despite the fact that I know that they have the juke, I still have to respect them graveyard comboing me. I'm going to go down on Null Rods. Probably don't have room for Charbelchers if they're doing that many creatures, and then the Brazen Borrower type cards get better. That's slow. I'm going to get all of these fucking Brazen Borrowers back in here. Maybe at the cost of 1 top-end card. This I am willing to keep. This will just be Island and pass. 17. Thoughtseize. I'm not going to give you the information here. I am just going to Spell Pierce that. I'm going to Sorcery Speed Brainstorm. Okay, cool. I'm going to put back land. I'm going to put my threat. No, I can't put my threat on top of the deck because I want to play Grafdigger's Cage right now. Get rid of Brainstorm then. Fetch. Island. Grafdigger's Cage. 14. Doughty Voidwalker. Junk that. Joy. That one doesn't block. I think I raced that one. I think I have to let that resolve so that I can tap out for this. Just feels bad. Like this entire play experience. I will take 3 from that. 16. That resolves. Rotting Regisaur. I think I have to counter that one. Force of Will. Pitching Daze. Trigger this. The cool part is that now my opponent can have a Force of Will if they need to back up a full-on combo turn. Oh, do I just get comboed now? Cool. Cabal Ritual. Sure. That is Death Touch. Great. Ponder. I guess I am dismembering Poxwalkers. Doesn't get to come back. Lose life to do that. Play land. Hit for 4. Opponent goes to 7. I have a Murktide Regent on top of my deck. Opponent is sacrificing Doughty Voidwalker. I guess going for Dismember. They can't cast spells from graveyards or library, but that's from exile. Opponent is going for Dismember. I'm going to lose that. And now I lose my graveyard, so I can't play this Murktide Regent that is on top of my deck. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing here? Fetch, clear Murktide. Draw Delver. Equip Delver. Pass. I think statistically speaking, I am probably the beatdown. Delver trigger. I will reveal Dismember, which I think I'm doing. Send it. Dismember, target this. Go to 3. Put my +1/+1 counter on my creature. Opponent's at 3. We win. Game. Alright. Savannah. That's not an Oops All Spells land. That's not great for me, though. I think I'm going to start this game off with Wasteland. I can't get comboed next turn unless my opponent has gone kind of crazy deep on Spirit Guides or Lotus Petals or something. I just take 1 in combat, and then I get a little bit more time to draw towards counter spells. Kind of forced. Ooh. I end up dismembering this. Force of Will. There's some timelines where I could now dismember that instead. I'm going to hold up the dismember. Tropical Island. Bird is fine. I think I dismember the combo piece. Take 1. Go to 14. And now I decide whether or not I want to have a turn of risk to play 2 Delver of Secrets and drop Brazen Borrower for Allosaurus Shepherd for Nadu. I think I want an attempt at countering a Nadu, but boy, it is missing a lot of damage. Bird's fine. Nomad's harder. I think I let that hit play. Alright, opponent is not attacking. Out of an abundance of caution, which is fine. I think I play a Delver here. And don't try to set it up or anything. I just need to respect a Nadu going on the stack. Alright, cool. Double fetch. I'll be at 12. Going to Petty Theft. The Shepherd out of play. Then I will Force of Will, pitching a Delver, and hope we don't get dazed. We did not get dazed. Shepherd comes back in. Alright. The opponent was thinking about attacking with Nomads. I probably would have blocked. Murktide Regent, I will not reveal. I will cast Ponder. I'm not really into that stuff. Planisphere or Murktide. 3 instants and sorceries in graveyard. I'm gonna see if they let me use Delver as a removal spell. Send it. They do not. I think Murktide is the most immediate damage with no instants and sorceries available to cast to blow this up. That's a Nadu. So my opponent gets this many activations times 2. We don't sit through that on this channel anymore. We have Grafdigger's Cage or Green Sun. Most of the rest of this stuff is pretty mid. Rustdown has some utility. Maybe I don't play all 3. Maybe I play a couple. This is slow. I have mixed feelings about these. It's a really big deal to tap down my Wasteland so that I can't keep cycling through my cards and like moving these around. Maybe I don't want to do that. Bellpierce misses a bunch of stuff. That could be my last 2. Bellpierce doesn't hit the creatures. It hits the Green Suns. It hits swords. Like, it has targets, but it doesn't stop the most problematic cards from resolving. This is mediocre. Look for a threat. Not a threat. They're okay cards. I'm willing to take 2 of those. I have to take the 3rd if I wasteland my opponent, though. I'm not wastelanding my opponent. I'm going to say that that resolves. And I think my plan is get rid of some lands. Oh, we found more lands. I'll get rid of 2 lands. Batch. Grab Island. I think so my Daze stays live longer. I just dismember here. And now we want to find like a Murktide Regent to just quickly take out my opponent while they are hopefully stuck on resources. Nice. I mean, that's literally the card that I asked for. Murktide Regent. That is a Green Sun for Dryad Arbor. I think I am just denying my opponent 2 mana here. 1 from the Cradle and 1 from Dryad Arbor, and just hoping that I 3-turn clock them. I'm going to float this in play, but I don't need to use it. It doesn't tap for mana. So I can hit Gaia's Cradle right here, so my opponent does not get a mana with it for this turn, which I am okay with. I have another land. I could dress down at my end step to keep Dryad Arbor from tapping for mana. I am into that. Alright, that was a brutal beating. we did the tempo thing. I think I'm just going to resubmit this. I have an okay opening hand here. If I'm on the play and I get the Delver down and then I get to start like wastelanding my opponent into oblivion, this is a little better. I still think I'm going to start out by denying some mana. I'm going to say that's fine. Then I will wasteland the shit out of that. Perfectly happy with this. Man, if I had Force of Willed that Noble Hierarch, which I don't think it was correct to do, but if I had, my opponent would not be on any mana sources right now. Spring Heart. I don't really hate just countering that. I don't want my opponent to get all that bonus Gaia's Cradle mana. A pitch Murktide. Nice. Drop Delver. If my opponent doesn't play another mana source, I get to just Brazen Borrow this Hierarch out of play, and then my opponent can't redeploy it with Cradle. Because of the line that I just talked about, I am straight up going to Force of Will that just hyper aggressively. Delver trigger. Ooh, Dismember instead. Love that. That means I can save the Brazen Borrower for a rainy day. I'm good with that. Swords is happening. I have another threat here, which has become castable. Opponent does not have the mana for whatever they were trying to do there. I am okay just playing Brazen Borrower as a threat on this board. Like, I can get more value out of the card by waiting, but I get a Lightning Bolt worth of value by playing it now. 13, Murktide Regent, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to pay the extra from here. 9 power incoming. Swords is fine. I still have another threat in play, and my opponent has not made any progress towards winning the game themselves. Send in. 10. We continue to get virtual card advantage by my opponent having all their stuff stuck in hand. Opponent's at 7. Play Delver, pass turn. I'm going to need an upkeep stop here so that I can fetch away whatever I don't like with Delver. That is a green sun for X equals 1. That might just be a mana dork. It is. That is a flying blocker, notably. Delver trigger. If I'm just bouncing that out of the way. Yeah, it denies 2 mana. Tell you what, I'll reveal it. You can see it. Petty Theft. Punchies. 4. Opponent goes to 3. If Delver flips, either one of these is lethal. Brazen Borrower comes down. Birds comes down. No blue mana for something like a Nadu. And opponent has thrown in the towel. We put 2 wins on the board today. All right, Gwigs, what do we think of your deck? I think this is close to being a good deck, but suffers from an identity issue. I think this deck should fully just give up trying to be a tempo deck. This card is really good when you can just churn through cantrips, and being able to pay the equip cost is, I think, really, really important on this card, because it turns any minor threat into a major threat, including something like a Tamiyo. So if I were going to change this, 4 Delver of Secrets out, 4 Tamiyo in, 3 Wastelands out, something like Otawara, Mystic Sanctuary, and another Fetcher Island, depending on what the ratio is like, in. 1 Surveil Land wouldn't be crazy. 2 Back to Basics out, or I don't know, like maybe if you slow the game down, these become more reasonable. Or you just build this as blue-red, and you play both Tamiyo and DRC in this deck, and then you can think about playing Baubles as well, and you can get some real removal instead of a pile of Brazen Borrowers. I think there is something that feels real here. But like Wasteland Back to Basics came up multiple times. Wasteland not being colored pips for Charm, and I think Murktide Region as well came up. Jason Mind Sculptor shouldn't be in the sideboard. Just is too much in a Pyroblast world, especially since Pyroblast is already so insane against the mono blue deck. But most of the other sideboard stuff felt fine. I think it's still fine to play multiple Null Rods when you are playing these. They still get a card worth of value, even if you can't re-equip it. So I'm gonna thumbs up this card. I don't know, if you go blue-red, you could play this alongside Corey Steelcutter as well. But at some point, like, you probably have enough non-instance that Murktide Regent starts to get worse, so Maybe that's just a different deck entirely. But I think this is the start of something good, and I wish you the best of luck in tuning it further. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day here, folks. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any thoughts, throw them down in the comments below. See ya!